My name is Ronnie Pinder. I'm one of the experts by experience at the Retreat York, and I also received my own autism diagnosis at the retreat just over 5 years ago now. And I'd gone through most of my life not actually realising that other people didn't experience the world the same way that I did. It came as quite the revelation when I found out. I'd gone through a long time, many years, of being misdiagnosed with various things and being medicated for various things that I didn't actually have. So I'd spent many years struggling with extreme dizziness and nausea, and I'd seen multiple doctors and consultants. I'd had many hospital visits. I'd been medicated with many different things, and they couldn't actually find out why all the different things that they tried and that they thought weren't actually the root cause of the dizziness and nausea that I was suffering from. And I had certain specific symptoms, if you like. One was dizziness, another was extreme nausea, and we're talking almost on a daily basis. And when I described how I experienced these things when they came, they were quite surprised. They'd not really heard of this before. And they tried various things. At first they thought it was severe vertigo, and they thought that it would go after a while, which it didn't. And when it didn't, they tried all different types of medication to try and help with the symptoms I was having, and none of them worked. So then they discussed maybe trying grommets, putting grommets into my ears, which fortunately they never did, because I now know that it wouldn't have helped. And then they thought it was maybe a rare type of migraine, and it turned out it wasn't that either. And then they wondered if I was maybe having hearing difficulties. So when I had the hearing tests at the hospital, they were surprised to not only find out that my hearing was fine, but it was more than fine. I could hear things that most people couldn't hear, which is quite a common thing with autistic people as well. So I also had severe anxiety for many years, and I still do. And I was, especially as a young adult, having very bad panic attacks. And it got to the point where I wasn't coping with them very well, and my doctor was left with no choice but to refer me for psychiatric counselling. And I had that for a year. And although the counsellor was great, and I learnt some techniques to help with anxiety and panic attacks, they couldn't find a root cause, and they were quite baffled by that, because they went into all my life, childhood, adulthood, talked about many things, and they couldn't find any root cause that was causing these consistent daily panic attacks and severe anxiety. And of course, I had no idea that I was an undiagnosed autistic adult. And anybody who's autistic and is struggling through life not realising they're autistic, a lot of the time that's going to have an impact on your mental health, and with me it certainly did. So a lot of people would say, what is the point of getting an autism diagnosis as an adult? Once you've reached a certain age, is there any benefits? And of course everybody's different, and all autistic adults are as different from each other as non-autistic people are. But for me personally, in my experience, the assessment and then the following diagnosis only brought benefits and no disadvantages. And the benefits for me were quite simple. They taught to me who I was and gave me explanations for why I struggled with things that other people seemingly didn't struggle with or found naturally. And it gave me so many answers for so many years of difficulties. And it also helped with the future, because I was able to not only understand who I was and my place in the world, but I was able to understand what made me tick, if you like, and also what was causing the dizziness and the vertigo that had been misdiagnosed for so long. And of course, it turned out it was sensory problems. I had no idea that I was having sensory difficulties. And once I realised this and then made notes of when they were happening, I realised that I had certain triggers. So, for example, certain types of lighting will have a significant impact on my senses. And without the diagnosis, I may never have come across these answers. So it's helped me massively. I still struggle with sensory problems, and I still struggle with nausea and anxiety on a regular basis. But I know a lot of the triggers. So a lot of the triggers I can avoid, and I can minimise the impact it has on my life on a daily basis. So for me personally, it's a massive advantage getting a diagnosis at any age. So although everybody's different and it's a personal decision, would I recommend, if I had to say yes or no, getting a diagnosis as an adult? Wholeheartedly, yes. for me, it's brought so many positive things, and it's also, in a strange way, given me a newfound confidence in myself, because I know who I am, and I know my strengths and as well as weaknesses, and I can play to my strengths, and I'm doing things now that I couldn't have dreamt of doing before diagnosis. So yes, it's definitely been a huge benefit for me. And if I had to say on a a flat yes or no answer, is it worth it? Then yes.